First, let's talk about what foundational Black Americans are. So, the term refers to a concept coined by activist and filmmaker Tariq Nasheed. It's used to describe Black individuals in the United States who are descendants of African people enslaved in the U.S. prior to the abolition of slavery in 1865. Here we go. I want to start off with you, Shelley.
My never to be humble opinion is that this movement is a way to further segregate and divide Black people, give me a second, and have these FBAs use this one as a good separation technique or a good segregation technique. Now, let me say this. I don't give a damn who you associate with, who you want to be called, or what group. I don't really care. But I think this particular issue is a way for, I'm going to say, maybe more conservatives to use as, oh, I'm separating myself because I am a slave or have ancestors that were slaves or whatever. I don't care. Ultimately, I am a foundational Black American. I was born here.
And, you know, a lot of people talk about being separate and all of this other stuff. Well, look, you could do that now. Find yourself an island in the South Pacific and just go be separate. But most people don't even know how to feed themselves without a supermarket. So that's something that would break down very quickly.
Now, these foundational Black Americans, the authority, whoever they are, I've never heard of such. And no, you may not claim me in your group, you know, just because I happen to be born an American, right? Born an American with beautifully melanated skin, but American nonetheless, right? We're not going to start dividing ourselves into these little pockets that make it easier for people to take advantage of other people.
And let me tell you something. I'm sick of FBAs, okay?
I'm sick of them too. I'm just sick of people begging all the damn time.
Yeah. You can actually walk down Baltimore and step in human feces, and it's generally from an FBA, okay? So corporation in their global empire. That includes, as I mentioned, undermining our borders, blending cultures, okay? Erasing history. And Black America is now feeling the sting. Folks, we're all foundational Black Americans. We have pride in America. Our roots are here. We're proud to be foundational Black Americans. And we know that what the left is doing, they are erasing America.
Absolutely.
And these people that are coming in, this new, illegal or legal,
those people coming in from Jamaica or coming in from Africa, they have not been treated like Black folk in this country. That's the first thing. And secondly, historically, they haven't had those historical spirits. They come in here voluntarily. When they come in here, they bring some cultural aspects from Africa. They can go back anytime they want. The people coming from Africa or coming from Jamaica didn't. They came here voluntarily. And the most important point on this is if you lump them with Black folk, then you give the dominant white society a justification to say we don't owe Black folk anything. Blackness is more than just color. It is their heritage. It's their history. It's their code of conduct. And more importantly, it is their badge of honor. And it's what it symbolizes the indebtedness that this country has to them. This country does not have an indebtedness to people coming from Africa. They don't have an indebtedness to people coming in from the Bahamas. If you lump Black folk in there, you deprive Black folk of the benefit, the debt that's owed them.
Monahan came up with a policy by the late 60s saying, or early 70s saying, it's time for us to move from focusing on Black folk to focus on Indians, Hispanics, and women.
Now, when immigrants come in, watch the benefits they get. They go past Black folk at 200 miles an hour. They do better right here in Chocolate City. Now, they're underneath the immigrants. Immigrants, they come in the country, they get a point over Black folk for being an immigrant. Blacks are the only non-immigrant. Two, all of them are classified as whites. The Arabs, Asian, Hispanic, they all been reclassified as whites. Even American Indians back in the 1890s became classified as whites. They get a point. That's the second point. They get over Black folk in getting access to resources and benefits. The third thing they get the benefits of being put into a minority category. They're classified as minorities over Black folk. Thirdly, they come in with a culture that they can establish a culture, that they can now build businesses and industries and relate back to their homeland. And lastly, what they can do, they also bring in a religious aspect and business opportunities for their people. Black folk get nothing. And they can come in and take and dominate Black folk.
Because they keep trying to create allies with them. You cannot ally with anybody who's planning on supplanting you. If you check the National Hispanic Defense League, if you check the National Hispanic Party, the first thing that all of them have is to change the issues in this country from white and Black to white and Hispanic. They're planning on supplanting you. When the National Hispanic Party started in Miami, that was the first item on their agenda, saying by the year 2000, they want to take blacks out of the equation. That's why they control South Florida.
Hispanics are whites passing as they're whites. They've always been whites. Up until 1970, all Hispanics in the United States and the world were classified as whites. They're just white folks speaking Spanish. And so they can come in all they want to. They can come in illegal or legal and get into the country. But see, they even come in from Cuba. When Castro cleaned out the prisons, he to clean out all the prisoners in Cuba and put them on boats and send them to the United States. And the United States accepted them. And now they're talking about black folk. Well, black folk got criminal. They got crime.
Don't even waste your time even chasing affirmative action anymore. It's been destroyed. It was supposed to be helping black folk. How do we become equal to blacks? And that's when the Hispanics jumped up this thing called Hispanic, the concept. Before that, we didn't have anything called Hispanic. But they thought in the early 60s that black folk might get some out of the civil rights movement. So what they did, they went to the table and came up with a whole term called Hispanic. They said, let's go all over the world and find everybody that speaks Spanish and pretend they're equal to black folk. And let's pretend that the Spanish language has been handicapped, Jim Crowed, enslaved, hung, lynched, decapitated, and everything else, and therefore is entitled to be treated like a black person.
Quit trying to save everybody. Why has always got black folk marching, trying to say we're marching for gays, we're marching for women, we're marching for poor people, we're marching for the handicapped? Why when all these immigrants coming here and building industries and businesses and blacks were slaves, why didn't they rise? Because they were excluded. You also are talking about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King going down to Alabama, want to integrate the bus lines. Integrate whose bus lines? White bus lines. What they want? They didn't want to own and control and get the resource. They just want to sit on the front of it.
I never thought about that. That whole time they did the boycott, they should have been trying to establish their own bus company as opposed to wanting to ride. Y'all boycotted for a year just to want to ride on the front?
Black folk just never learned the importance of owning and controlling. You're never getting anything until you started demanding. That's why no Arabs, no Asians, no Hispanics, nobody's coming to America trying to socially integrate with black folk. Spend your money with your own people first. Buy from your own people first. Hispanic bounce their money on an average of 6 to 7 times in Mexican time. Little Havana, little Cuba. White folk typically bounce their money 8 to 12 times. Arabs and Asians bounce their money about 13 or 14 times. Jews bounce their money about 18 times. Black money doesn't bounce once. As soon as a black person gets paid, he runs straight to somebody else's business and gives them the money. That's why 1 out of every Asian has a business. 1 out of every 35 whites have a business. 1 out of every 53 Hispanics have a business. Only 1 out of about 105 blacks have a business. Well, I want blacks to get out of affirmative action and go for reparations. I was getting ready to put your own self-interest first. And then what you do then, you say, I want to also rebuild my own communities. Go back and rebuild your own communities. Put your own businesses in there. A community is where you store your values, your culture, your history, your tax base, your jobs, and your employment opportunities. You store them in your own communities. That's why 98% of all these other groups, they have their own communities, spend their money with their own people, and you start practicing group economics and group politics. You pull out all the parties, build your own black independent parties, move away from the Republican Party, pull out the Democratic Party, because neither one of them have your interests at heart, and create your own parties, but don't run any candidates. So we will vote for any candidate in the National Black Independent Party who will promise the most and deliver resources to black folk to correct the structural inequity we're into.
Let's make Louisiana chicken fricassee. This is what you need to make for your next Sunday dinner. And baby, before we get started, let's get into this outfit really quick, okay? After I put this ensemble together, I couldn't help but think about the Tignon laws in Louisiana, so let me tell you about them. Back in the 1700s, free black women were required by law to cover up their hair with a head wrap with what we call as a Tignon. But what was meant to suppress ended up becoming a bold statement of identity, creativity, and resistance. If anything, it showed off how beautiful our people are. Women would wrap their hair in beautiful fabrics, colors that really accentuated their natural beauty. What was meant to silence really turned into a crown. And that's a legacy that many women, including myself, wear to this day. And just like the Tignon, this dish has a lot of cultural history as well. Chicken fricassee has been a staple in many kitchens around Louisiana for many generations. A dish that uses fried pieces of chicken and slow simmering them in a roux. And of course, serving it with some white rice. Let me know, have you tried this, or would you try it if you haven't? And if you want the full detailed recipe and tutorial, it's on my website in my bio. And as always, thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
I wish I would stop saying stuff like this, because you don't know that you're saying stop the division. We're all one. Black Americans didn't create the division. Number one, from the very beginning, black Americans didn't create. From the very beginning, black Americans did not create any division. And I can take you back to the beginning, where this man who is now taking over the Essencefest will reportedly, according to the New York Post, scammed, decimated the National Harlem Theater when they believed in that oneness you're talking about. Okay, so don't go sitting there saying that black Americans didn't have an open heart. Okay, because whenever black Americans open up our heart, you see, 'cause I got proof on this now. You can go look at this news report, okay? Open up the heart, stabbed right in it, okay? So stop running around here talking about some stop the division World War One. Black America didn't start any division. Period. Do not let me go back in time, okay? We did not start any division. What we did was we were very open. Most people know Black America is very open. That's how we're raised, okay? But you expect us to keep getting stabbed, and that's not the way that's gonna go. Okay? Instead of being angry, upset at Black America, what you need to do is look at this thing with a level freaking head, which you just don't want to do. Now, after he reportedly decimated the National Harlem Theater, and many people are alive today and remember it, okay? It's not like it was way, way long time ago. This was 2011, okay? And now here we are at Essencefest, and he's trying to change the direction of it, okay? And make it, and give the global Black diaspora a foundation off the backs of Black American money. No, that's not division. What I just said is not division. What I just said is you're not going to trample all over what my forefathers built for your gain. That's what that is. So stop with that whole nonsense. Stop with that whole I don't care how many times you guys say it. It doesn't make sense. There's nothing xenophobic about what Black America. There's nothing xenophobic about what Black Americans. There's nothing divisive about what Black America is saying. Okay? Essence, the original Essence owned by Black America, we had plenty from the diaspora working within Essence. Because you don't know the history of Essence, so just be quiet, okay? Just coming out here yapping your jaws, okay? You don't know the history. Essence has always had the diaspora inside it working.
So I'm going to try something new tonight with the StreamYard. That's what I'm going to do. It's allowing me to record directly, I think, onto the machine. So I don't know how that's going to work, if that's going to work any better. But for me, I don't know. It seems a little different. It seems a little bit different. I'm not sure. Today or tonight is going to be my weekend promise coming to fruition. And it's going to be bringing our cousins up on trial, so to sense. We're in a sense right now where they call it maybe a great digital war, great digital diaspora war. And the bottom line is the freedmen have put in too much damn work to tolerate any cultural disrespect, especially from folks that look like us. And it's getting completely out of hand. So the trial, which I'm all in favor of a Negro Nuremberg. During Nazi Germany, they rounded up all the coons, any Jews that were coons or collaborators, and they rounded them up in Nuremberg. And you know what happened to them? Alongside their oppressors, what happened? I'm in favor of a Negro Nuremberg in terms of casting your brethren out that has undermined you aside. There is no further need to pretend that we're going to be able to deal with folks, in that ilk. We ain't got time to educate them. And we ain't got time to try to let them know basic information they should already know. We've been warned, even specifically from some paperwork that I've seen from the Negroes Digest early on from a Caribbean brother, about how some of these folks has been getting down. And I'm not saying all, but it's enough, and it's too damn much, especially when you have a situation like what happened to Essence. So we've all seen it. We all seen what happened. So we can't pretend anymore about this. And this is a conversation we should have had a long time. The title of this is When You Lose Your Essence. That's what the title of this is. So before I go any further, I've been wanting to promote Black-owned businesses, on each story time or broadcast, and I haven't really been doing that. So without further ado, my good brother over here at On Point Arms, Black-owned. This brother's down in Colorado. He has a great website where he sells all kinds of, weapons. He's down there in Windsor, Colorado. Real good brother. Now that brother's from the islands. So we ain't got no brothers. We ain't got no issue with no brothers, no matter where they are. If they solid, if you're solid, you're solid. But as I said before, we're not tolerating any symbolism between foreign or domestic. Not happening. But yeah, no, that On Point Arms, I bought several different pieces from him. Real good brother. Fought in the war, veteran. I think it was a Navy SEAL or not a Navy SEAL or something like that. But we'll kind of get into that, at a later date. Real good brother. Real good brother. So first thing I want to do. The first thing that people are saying, because you guys all know what was going on, but for those that don't know, I'm going to give you a little backdrop. It's going to be small, so I'm not going to go into it deep. But this is what's been going on that I've been seeing. Let me see if I can find it. You've had a lot of brothers and sisters that have been spending their money, specifically a lot of the women that have been spending their money going to Essence for decades. Now, Essence was created by, I think, 3 or 4 foundational Black men because they wanted to uplift the sisters, and they wanted to show Black American women in a positive light. So it was founded, and I'm going to give the breakdown of this here. This was founded by Edward Lewis, Clarence Smith, Cecil Hollingsworth, and Jonathan Blount. Their mission was to uplift, inform, and celebrate Black women. Now, the first editor was Marcia Ann Gillespie. Now, the woman right here, because this is what they tried to do. They tried to say, well, there's an issue with xenophobia. And let me tell you something. When you hear a Negro saying something like that, most of the time, when you start hearing men talk about xenophobia, especially Negroes, they're really coming from a real feminist beta male perspective. We don't use those terms. We operate under the term of racism, white supremacy. We say that. We don't talk about no xenophobia because there's no comparison when somebody starts talking about the xenophobia to racism, white supremacy. Then that's either true or false. We don't use it in those terms. I don't ever remember hearing it. That's some new intersectional stuff. That's what I hear. I hear a lot of that stuff coming from the intersectional crowd. So when you think about who they had running it, this sister was from Jamaica. Now let's pull up the paperwork. Susan L. Taylor. This sister was born in 1946. Her people are from St. Kitts, the islands. Born in Harlem. Her mother was from Trinity. Now, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of the brothers and sisters, or I'll say the sisters, they enjoyed her reign from 81 to 2000, the Susan L. Taylor era editor-in-chief. Now, she started at Essence in 71 as a beauty editor. Now, let's be clear about something. Around that time, what was going on in the 70s? I want y'all to answer that question. The 70s, the 60s, what was going around? She was born in 1946. She was born in Harlem, 1946. So she heard about the Harlem Renaissance. She heard about these things. So she was around the foundation. She was getting her upbringing 9 times out of 10 around Black Americans in Harlem. So of course she probably had a level of respect. She said, okay, I'm like y'all. I'm like y'all. Because from what I understand, I'm hearing that a lot of people were happy with the way she ran it. She protected the culture. She stood for the culture. This was around 1981 to 2000. So this is before all that LGBT garbage and all that intersectional crap was really coming around to that degree. So these were her achievements. And I found this online using Brother Chat. She created the iconic In the Spirit column, blending spirituality with empowerment. She elevated Essence to a cultural political force, pioneered positive Black beauty standards in the media. She founded Essence annual Black Women in Hollywood and Essence Music Festival. She's often referred as the mother of Essence and one of the most respected figures in American publishing. Now, from 2005 to 2018, Time Incorporated owned 49% of Essence. 100% ownership. Essence was no longer Black owned until 2008. The editor-in-chief was Angela Burt Murray. And then they got from 2005 to 2010, Constance White. That's the editor-in-chief. This Vanessa Wanga. Then from 2015 to 2017, DeLuca, 2015 as CEO. Now, around this time, they faced backlash of perception of cultural authenticity, which means 9 times out of 10, you had some tethers running it. And they started doing stuff like this. This is what they started to do. This is what they started getting into. Look at the colors. Red, black, and green. This is who you got representing the red, black, and green. Talking about he's talking about we don't want vengeance. We want our rights. We want equality. We want to be treated like human beings. This is who they represent, who they got representing us for revolution. A buck broken Negro. That's who they put on the cover. There's a direct correlation in this going into this right here. Now, eventually, Black ownership, they said, returns. Richelle Dennis, founder of Shea Moisture, Essence Victors LLC. So it becomes Black owned again. But Black folks didn't have no problem. All the women that I've heard online have been talking about it saying, hey, man, when Susan L. Taylor was running it, it was on point. I'm hearing reports that they didn't even honor Frankie Beverly. And that's somebody that is very, very instrumental in Essence and the formulation of musical culture in Essence magazine or Essence Festival. So that's the first piece of evidence we have. Now we're going to show these. This is worth 1,000 words. This is some stuff I brought up in Brother Chat. And this is going to be the title. You can see the leeches and the vultures, and they're parachuting tethers in. Because the essence is gone. That's what they were doing. Lauryn Hill had issues. Usually they try to say that she was late. Lauryn Hill had issues. It was emptying out. She still tried to do her thing. Let's take back something down to memory lane. And this was Gary Chambers saying it was disappointing to witness Essence and Essencefest file documents to shut down an event put on by Black business owners. The business owners, Tammy Kane House and Kimberly Jones and the New Orleans bookstore, lost money and their time. The president of the City Council of New Orleans issued a statement to make sure it's clear that it was never the intent of the ordinance Essence attempted to use to harm private-owned businesses and events for operating. Now, this was a few years ago. Black folks was pissed off about that already. They sent a cease and desist letter to a Black-owned coffee and bookstore business and the author event organizers, saying it uses trademark to mislead customers. Such actions are not only unjust, but also tarnish the reputation of Essence and raise questions about its commitment to supporting the Black community as a whole. The store owner, DJ Johnson, called the temporary restraining order demanding the scheduled Friday event closure ironic and troubling. The festival said they used the Essence name illegally and violated New Orleans clean law. Now, eventually they dropped it. Black folks, let's get in it here. That's one piece. That's one piece. Where is it at? Mia X had an issue. Dear Essencefest. Now, this is another legendary artist from No Limit Records. As I previously expressed to your president, Barku, I felt deeply disrespected, disregarded, and unprotected when I discovered that you advertised me as a featured artist for July 6th without any paperwork deposit, performance rate discussion, or communication whatsoever. According to Barku, Essence felt justified in using my name because Master P gave his permission. I must emphasize I had no written agreement with Master P, nor did I authorize him to speak. No contract signed, no terms were discussed. In fact, I didn't even know the actual performance date until Essence published the performance lineup. Where was the respect for my name, my brand, and my legacy? Where was the protection? Why was I treated like a disposable woman who would just shut up and show up? I've worked with Essence for over 25 years and never have been treated this way. It's disappointing, heartbreaking, and unacceptable. That's another piece of evidence I'm going to give y'all. We going on trial. This right here is Stephanie Mills. This is another legendary, legendary person. Look what she said. Dear Essence Festival organizers, I'm writing to share my feedback following my performance this year's Essence Festival. While I remain grateful for the opportunity to have participated, my overall experience was unfortunately marred by significant production issues that negatively impacted both my performance and the artist's experience as a whole. Beyond the logistic issues, the technical difficulties, I'm not going to read the whole thing, specifically concerning the sound system, proved deeply problematic. These issues were not isolated incidents, but rather persistent problems that severely hampered my ability to deliver my performance to the best of my ability. And I understand I wasn't alone. Now, here's more proof. Mooney Long had issues. She had to go to TikTok. She had to go to TikTok. They wouldn't let us check the lights. Let's go back and see what she says. You tried to make Essence your best. So after they tried to tell me I couldn't have a sound check and lied and said they didn't say that because I walked to the stage by myself while I was supposed to be doing my vocal warm-up and said, if I don't sound check, I'm not performing. I had to sound check while people were walking in. Production actively sabotaged my sound check, lying their entire time saying I wasn't on stage and I was standing right behind them. They wouldn't turn my screens on for me to check my content. I had to bark on them to get them turned on. They wouldn't let us check lights. We never got to check the lighting cues that were synced up with the screen. Failed. I still didn't have the ear pack or mic. Neither did my BGVs or cast. 15 minutes in for a 30-minute sound check that was happening while people were being seated. They wouldn't let me put my music in the house. I'm not even going to keep going on. That's another piece of evidence. So we got Lauryn Hill. We got Stephanie Mills, legends. And you got Mooney. That's another piece of evidence. Mia X. Now, people have been saying this too. This is a piece of paper that I believe somebody may have gotten. And I'm going to do a little mini story on that too. They're saying AT&T sponsor guardrails. So focus on legacy storytelling, inclusion without identity-specific language. Avoid race, gender, or sexuality terms, negative framing of AI or tech, critique of institutions, combative or divisive language. Say this instead of that. Black culture is being erased. So say some watered down garbage. AI is killing creativity. We're losing our traditions. Now, this looks like something that somebody came up with. I don't know if someone made it up, but let me tell y'all something. Now, this is the two-piece thing as to why. This is why a lot of black folks here, we focusing on our culture and our lineage, and we're just going to say, you know, any samboing or tailoring, we're just going to cast it to the side. We can't work with y'all. Actually, this is going to get us working harder and bring stronger bonds with brothers from the diaspora that ain't tethering. This is going to make us stronger. Yes, because we get to see who the tethers are. We really get to see that. When you have folks that will sabotage Black American artists, sabotage their businesses over and over. I'm showing you tons of pieces of evidence. Then I'm really going to pull up some more receipts. When I was at the Urban League, and this was early on in my career, probably around 2000, this was around maybe 06, 07. And I wasn't going to say anything because the Urban League, they did me a solid. So I wasn't going to say too much. But it's got to be said, man. I went off for a minute. When I was at the Urban League, I was taking that A+ program. We were supposed to get computers, laptops, our certification programs, all of that when I was over there in North Minneapolis. This was probably around, had to been, I think it was 2007. I think it was 2007. I was hearing about the program at the end of 2006. I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to say this because they looked out, but I gotta speak truth to power, man. The way that was ran, it reminded me of this. And the head of the program was a tether. Some Latin woman that hung around us. They hired her at the Urban League and was talking down to black folks. She reminded me, it was giving me Fat Joe vibes almost, the way the things was going. We didn't know about how Fat Joe was back then. We didn't know about how these kind of this cultural erasure kind of thing, where it was like, oh, well, I don't want to give you guys the credit. She was running a program. She talked down to us a lot, the students. There was a sister that was one of the lead. She taught me everything I know. The sister named Atrium. She taught me everything I knew, man. She kind of upped my game when it came to applications with TeamViewer and all that kind of stuff and virtual machines and all that. She really brought it to us. She'd be going off getting equipment and all that because the Urban League was supposed to handle it. They got a grant from AT&T. We never got our laptops. We never got the things that we needed. And I was hearing rumors, AT&T sponsored it. So where'd the money go? And it reminded me of what's going on here at Essence too. Now, that paper, it could have been something that somebody put together. It could have been something that somebody just put together and copy pasted and photo. But it looks kind of real. And I was looking like, it looked kind of, but that's kind of around with me dealing with some of these. I told y'all the award show, that Joyner, Roland, that Divine Nine ass kind of crowd, that old, those kind of Negroes. They really hold on tight to these corporate sponsorships like that. Now, what we should have did, this is what we should have did. Foundational Blacks, we should have got together and put the money up for sponsorships so we could still speak on our culture's behalf and not have to worry about some of these big sponsors. You keep some of the corporate sponsors, but when they start telling you what you can and can't say, you're beholden to them now. What we could have done, what could have happened to this, and I'm kind of jumping the gun when it comes to some of the solutions, but I'm just going to say one thing. We could have got with some other brothers and sisters from the diaspora, wherever they're from, as long as they solid. If you're solid, I don't give a damn where you're from, foreign or domestic. If you're solid, you're solid. And said, look, let's put the money up and get this thing together where we can still keep our culture. Because see, here's the thing. We're in a situation right now where you got folks that's always this whining and complaining about ICE and deportations and TPS and all this going on, and everybody screaming for us to come help. And y'all kind of separated yourselves from us. So now you in a situation we really can't do nothing for you. And I don't want to hear the thing about, and they used to do this too. They used to sit them down in front of TVs and tell them, don't deal with them Black Americans. I know that. We can't go for that no more. We got the internet. So we can't go for that no more. We've imported all of our culture and rap and everything else. You could pull some things up about Ida B. Wells and Dr. King and the Deacons of Defense. You could do all that. So we're not buying that. What I didn't know and I've been brainwashed. That don't cut it no more. That worked before the smartphone. Yeah, that worked back then. Because I met a lot of brothers and sisters, especially like Somalia, East Africa, mainly like Somalia and West Africa too, where they sat them down and showed them, hey, don't mess with them Negroes. That ain't gonna fly here no more. That might have worked in the 90s, early 2000s or something like that. You ain't gonna be able to use that no more. You know about our contributions to this country and why your black ass is over here in the first place. So we're not gonna be able to use that no more. So you have situations where corporate sponsorships, you have as I call the Boulay Butter Biscuit crowd, they'll get some of the money and don't spread it to where it needs to be. That is what I think could have happened to that AT&T grant. So when I seen that, my 10-4 kufi went on tight. I mean, mine was just weighing my head like a harpy eagle. It was heavy on my head. That 10-4 when I said, whoa, wait a minute, that looks kind of similar. So now that's another piece of, I'll say, potential evidence. Now you could object to that because the way that the word, not the words, but it don't look Photoshop. It looked like it could have been modified, but that's usually what they do. All right, next piece of evidence. These are some of the people that they hired at the Essence. But before I go any further, I became black. Let me make sure I get my sources right, because I want to quote it right. Let me see here. This is usually what they do. Now, I kind of dug into her a little bit, so it looked like she has some black instructors. So I'm not going to throw her to the fire too much. But this is usually who they hire. They hire people talking about, well, I didn't know I was black. What the hell are we going to do with folks like that? What are we going to do with somebody talking about they didn't know they were black? We've been identifying as black for forever because we were not able to run. There ain't no white supremacy. This has been rooted. We've been dealing with this for 300-400 years here. So we weren't able to say, well, we didn't know we were black. That's usually who they hire for a lot of them Essence editors. They hire folks that are like that, and they fire people like this. They don't keep around folks like this. They don't keep folks like this around. You see what I'm saying? But they hire some folks like that. Here's another piece of evidence. They're having an identity crisis. Now, these folks are from NOLA. So whatever niggas in New Orleans says, no matter what I say, the folks in New Orleans is law. I got my opinion of just being a freedman outside of New Orleans. But whatever them niggas say down in New Orleans about how they felt about how that was handled is law. There ain't nothing, nobody in the diaspora could really form a strong opinion against what they said, because that's their homeland. Essence, the epitome of Essence is based in New Orleans. The fabric and the architecture and the culture is of New Orleans. So there's nobody outside of New Orleans that can speak against what they say. Nothing. You can't say anything that's going to measure up to anything to what they say about their culture. You can't say anything. They're saying, hey, this ain't ran right. Now, if you look at the article, this is a piece, and I'm going to read the bigger piece. They said New Orleans isn't a backdrop, it's a living, breathing culture with deep ancestral roots. And yet, each year, it feels more like locals are being pushed to the margins of the very festival that claims to celebrate them. From limited opportunities for local artists and vendors to an increasing disconnect between festival leadership and the communities they're supposed to represent, the message is clear. This space is no longer ours. It's leased to us, if anything. That reality came into sharp focus in 2023 when Essence filed a cease and desist against Baldwin & Company, a Black-owned bookstore in New Orleans, for hosting a book signing by a well-known Black author during festival weekend. The move sparked immediate backlash from the local Black literary and activist community, who saw the lawsuit not only as a tone-deaf overreach, but as a stunning contradiction for everything the festival claims to stand for. And I just from reading right, that tells me that there might be some tethers in charge. Because that's how colonization starts. You get some foreign folks that ain't from the culture. They're not from the city. They don't have any connection to the killing fields of the American South. And now they're trying to do South America apartheid on your culture and tell you that you don't know anything about your culture and bring up xenophobia as a defense. And I'm going to tell you, here's another piece of evidence that I found out that it was very interesting. Wait till you hear this. Now, this slickhead bastard, every time he shows up, now this was out of July 10th, 2025, Essencefest, Executive Vice Chairman speaks on issues. We're listening to everything. Now, he said his official chairman, he's the official title chairman of Sundial Media Group, of which Essence Vixers is the crown jewel. Ad Essence Magazine, Afro Punk. Hold on. Let's get this going here. Remember Al Sharpton? They were running around talking about Target and DEI. This is going to blow y'all away. Now, this is what this guy said too. State and local support. One of the things that's been circulated, and not just this year, but I think more so this year, is whether Essence is committed to New Orleans with any large entity festival or otherwise. There are state-supported and city-supported subsidies to help bring this wonderful event and make it all that it is. How do you feel about the support? So let's start with defining support. Dennis said, support is an action. The city and the state have been very active supporting Essence. We have had good relationships with the city and the state. Now, before I go any further, do y'all know how much money? Do y'all know how much money Essence brings to the city of New Orleans? It brings so much money to the city of New Orleans. We come here every year, unlike the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl don't come every year. One of the things that really do was take a double take when the Super Bowl was here. The NFL is a 60-plus billionaire running a business with tons of advertising dollars that shows up here once every 10 years. We come here every year. We invest everything we have in the city every year. All right, let me try to fix this because it's something about this website. I think what I'm going to have to do I'm going to have to do something different. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to save this as a PDF because the website is really, really getting. Let me save it. See, a lot of people, they don't like that word tether because they think it like, well, damn, I got to clean up. I got to really, really clean up some of the folks that's around me, and I can't let them coon and tap dance around me. That's what people are mad about. It's not about, well, you know, we're going to label it as tethers. That's not what it's really about. We've already explained that 1,000 times. The movie Us, that's a prime example. Jordan Peele did an excellent example Now, this is not working very well, and I don't want to shut down. Let's see how long it'll take, because it's got high memory usage, and it's talking about 2.5 gigs. Not sure what's going on, so I'm going to close it. All right, so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to see if I can open it up another way. Yeah, we've had it. Yeah, we've had it, y'all. We can't let this continue to go on without saying something. And people are what folks is talking about online, or people are getting, well, it's a diaspora war and all that. We need a civil war, man. We need a Negro Nuremberg to clean all this out. And we're going to continue to deal with the solid brothers, foreign or domestic. That's just all it's going to be. Because what's going to happen is you're just going to lose all black support. You're going to lose all black support, especially New Orleans. You need New Orleans to really keep this thing going. Let me see if I can find this again. Stephanie Mills slams Essencefest for deeply problematic issues. It's a damn shame. All right, I'm pulling it back up. I was do it this way because the PDF is not okay. Look, so Dennis says, I heard somebody says some of the things that people have concerns are the super lounges. Have you heard that? Do you understand where people are coming from? I've heard all of that, and every year I hear a lot about what communities are going through. As local as Essence Festival is, it's really also national. It is national. You have black women coming from all around the nation, maybe even around the world, but around the nation for sure. So he says sometimes expectations are reasonable, sometimes they're not reasonable. Our team does an excellent job of social listening, so we're listening to everything that's being said every day. Now, that is not true. They're not doing a good job of social listening, because we've already told you we don't want there's no reason to align buck breaking with Black American culture. He says, I don't know how many people are out there know this, but Essence, if not the largest of the very largest festivals in this country, that festival is run by 98% of black people. All right. Now let's go down here where he was talking about something about that this lying piece of filth. This is the brother that's interviewing him here. He's a columnist. So Will Sutton is interviewing Dennis. So they start talking about, is the city financially doing more or less in your time here? And what kind of amount are we talking about? So he says, I'll start with the first question. Is it enough? No. Are there better efforts? Are we making efforts to make it better? Yes. So he asked 2 million. He said a little more than that, but that's collectively. Not only was it less this year from the state, but because of the DI pullbacks, our sponsorships were lower. But that did not deter us from the investments that we needed to make. Okay, so now he starts saying, this is what Dennis says. If you look at the lineup, on some nights there's 10 artists, right? Maybe we don't need that much. Time goes by faster. There's less chances for equipment failure. Unfortunately, it impacted Lauryn Hill, and she got blamed for being late. It wasn't her fault. We're not here to destroy. We're here to build up families. You don't do that by buck breaking. We're here to build up businesses. We're here to reinvest in our communities. Okay, so now, let's look at this. The Target boycott has been going on for some time, so that created a lot of uncertainty because we're losing funding from the state. If brands are cutting back on their DEI budgets like Ford, and I'll name them because I'm not going to allow them to go hide, then there are others in the market who are taking credit like Costco. I've never seen a program that they put together to support my community. I'm not saying what Sutton says. Now, I really want you to understand this piece, because this is something that hasn't really been going on where somebody has really, talked about this part. Boycott Target. Because I think that they're trying to get a cut. Defunding Target partnership. So Target, you're saying, is investing in the Black community? Now listen to this carefully. From where I sit and from what I know in my own lived experience with having invested in over 20 different businesses that do business in Target, it today has not pulled back of any of the commitments that it's made to those businesses. Not that I've seen. There was a commitment that they said they were going to invest or spend $2 billion with Black-owned businesses over a 5-year period from when they made it to 2025. I know that for a fact. This year, they will hit the target on time. I understand. And really, when Negroes say they want to boycott, I've already broken it down. They do not. He said, we invested in Essence when nobody else wanted to. Plenty of people had the opportunity and chose not to. We invested in it because we believe that our community deserves a platform that will be here that can be trusted for 100 years. Boycott Target, and a community of people follow you to boycott Target, and they boycott Essence. And then they're celebrating online to say, oh, he didn't sell as many tickets. Now, Sutton was, this right here, this is Dennis. So I believe he's the CEO. I'm really I don't know. It's their website, man. It's really janky. It's super janky. So I'm going to have to close a couple different things. Here. So he's the executive VP. Yeah, he's the executive VP. So Target did not pull the money back. Al Sharpton, you lying piece of trash. Target cut the check because they were under contract. They were under contract with Essence. But he had you Negroes run out. And I'm telling Black folks, I see Black folks in Target all the time. A couple of bad things too. I see Black folks in all they're not falling for it. Because you go over to Walmart, some of the things you get in Walmart's ran ratchet as hell. You go over to Walmart as well, and they have a huge issue. I'm going to keep it real. When I go to Costco, I don't see a whole bunch of Black women working up in there. I'm in damn Matamidi right now. There ain't no Black women working in there all like that. The hell's y'all talking about? Well, you need to go to Costco and Sam's Club because these fat old bastards, these FBI ex-informants want a check on the side. So they want you to run down to Costco. So they doing these little Negro marches. At the same time, they say, well, boycott Target. There's Black businesses in Target. I get it. Target ain't the best. I know the experience ain't the best when Black folks go up in there all the time. But damn it, they're not checking your bags like Walmart. So, the DEI, y'all, the only people that really benefit from DEI is LGBT, white women, and immigrants. That's the primary. I've already explained this about 50 times. So when they said that Target is cutting back on DEI, they still cut the checks to Essence. They still cut the damn check. So let me pull this up here. All right, let me see what she had to say.
What happened to Black American heritage at Essencefest?
Black folks ain't having this shit.
What happened to Black American heritage at Essencefest? So it's night 1 or night 2, and there is a lot of complaints coming through, and the common consensus is the culture has shifted. It no longer feels like us. And honestly, that makes sense because the people in charge now do not value Black heritage.
You didn't see, let me tell y'all something too. I've been hearing reports that you didn't see one damn American flag. People can feel what they want about the flag or whatever the case may be. You have other flags, but that's not New Orleans. You here. You're in our culture. I don't get to go to the Caribbean Fest with an FBA flag I don't get to try to be a vendor at the Caribbean Fest and not have a Caribbean flag. I don't get to do that. I'd be off cold as hell if I came in there talking about, well, I'm going to make a foundation, a Freedman's barbecue, and then I got the flag right up here in a Caribbean Fest. That's what they do to us. Most Black festivals, we ain't tripping about Black folks to come and set up as vendors and stuff. But when you don't have anything of New Orleans heritage or culture that's being represented, but you're using the brand of Black American heritage. So what you're saying in so many words is, well, I bought it. The hell with you Negroes, what you built. I'm just going to throw my spice on it, and I'm going to expect, let's have a Joe Loft jambalaya cook-off or whatever they're saying. Man, Joe Loft can't touch no New Orleans food. I'm just going to be honest. People around the world tell you about New Orleans food. Y'all ain't rocking with no damn New Orleans food. You ain't rocking with no New Orleans. You out your damn mind. You ain't rocking with no New Orleans food. I've been down there. I see the get down. Ain't no Joe Law rocking with no jambalaya. Never in a million years. It ain't rocking with it. It's not. So you got sisters coming from nation to nation, and then you getting these weird vibes. They're like, okay, I paid my money. I hopped on a plane, and this is what I'm getting. And then when you start looking at the history of what they've been promoting within the last 5-10 years or even more, it's like folks got to write it off.
This fest used to be known as the Cookout. It was created in 1995, created to center Black American heritage, the music, fashion, beauty, political power. It was basically like the family reunion created by Black people for Black people. Soul food, a little gospel, a little trap, NOLA. It was a culture that you felt deep in your chest. But now, not so much. It feels somewhat curated, corporatized, and it no longer feels like it centers us. The current CEO of Essence is a former DEI executive for Target.
Oh. See, y'all thought I was xenophobic. Oh, xenophobic. See, I came with the facts. I came with the receipts. Y'all ran out there and had Negroes running out trying to break your neck to boycott Target. But you got a Target Negro up in there. You have a Negro from Target. So y'all really got, Sharpton and them got some explaining to do. Y'all got some serious explaining to do.
So the very thing that Black Americans are protesting, she was the center of, and now she's the center, well, she's the head, the CEO of Essence. Upon more research, I found out that she is originally from Kenya. And she moved to the US when she was about 10 years old. The point of me bringing that up is she doesn't seem like she values Black American heritage, because if she did care, the festival will still reflect the very people it was built for. And seeing as though that's not the case, I can't help but think that she does not value Black American heritage. Instead, it's become a space that uplifts everyone else aside from Black American heritage. That shift is starting to feel.
You heard what she said?
Instead, it's become a space that's not the case. I can't help but think that she does not value Black American heritage. Instead, it's become a space that uplifts everyone else.
I want y'all to look at these flags right here. I want y'all to look at these flags right here, y'all. Take a good look. Now, none of these folks have went through what I'm getting ready to. None of their folks have this story. They don't have this story in the killing fields of the American South. They don't have this right here, but I'm getting ready to show you. They don't have this. And this is where the disrespect is right here. This is the disrespect.
So, this was the particular time that I had to go with my mom. And so this was the particular time that I had to go with my mom. So they raped my mom. And when it came to me, I was sitting there crying because, when you don't know what's going on, I was sitting up there crying in this. And so the lady said, they coming to me. So the master's wife said to him, and the other brothers or whoever they were. And she said, and they was sort of looking, and she said, oh, no, honey, no. And she says, she's not even a heifer yet. I didn't learn what that word was.
Now, I'm breaking this down. When she's saying she ain't even a heifer yet, she ain't a cow. She's saying she didn't know what that term was when she was young. This is in the 60s. This is a Black American freedman that in the 60s in Mississippi was on a plantation being violated by the masses in the 60s. I learned about this documentary. My wife sent it to me. She's always finding good documentaries. And it was on Amazon Prime. It's called The Cotton Picking Truth. This CEO, suspected LGBT tether that they say has a white wife. And I read at this point, I really don't give a damn niggas get mad over that word. Because that's what we dealing with. Generally, we don't have that kind of energy here. It's gotten to the point where these niggas done lost their damn minds. Delineation was necessary. It was survival at this point. It's kind of like we'll rock with the real ones, but nah. Because she never watched this. There's no way that you would have ran that festival and had those Black women spending their money, spending their last money, taking payday loans to come down there to support Essence. And y'all do them like that. You do the artists like that. You don't gatekeep the culture because you want a corporate dollar. You remember, this same Wanga woman was talking on a Breakfast Club, talking about where her folks came from the lineage of slave owners. Her folks sold slaves. And the attitude was, well, we had to do what we had to do. And we supposed to unify with that? See, the Pan-African one-sided thing, that ain't gonna work. And as you can see, it's not working. We're gonna have to start doing stuff on an individual basis. Okay, I know this brother over here, he's solid. Oh, that brother over here, he's not solid. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to do that on that kind of basis. because these folks are not in tune to this. See, I understand it because I've heard the stories. But she's 10 years old, they say. She came from Kenya. And if she's 40 now, that means that she was only around us 30 years. She came from Kenya at 10, which means you would have had to get acclimated for 10 years. So how did you get among us and get these high-ranking positions to be able to, yeah, I understand you were with Target, but how did you get around us and get to pick up the lingo enough to where you're in a high-ranking position making decisions on foundational Black American heritage, on freedmen, Black heritage, African American heritage, and you don't know about this? And the way you know, and you got to think, if that thing is true, if she got a white wife, where'd you pick that up at? From my understanding, in Africa, that don't really fly too well. So where'd you get that? Because that ain't a part of African heritage. Where did you get that at? If that's the case, that's what people are saying. If that's true, where did you pick that up on the way? Because if you were 10 from Kenya, did you get buck broken? We got to start thinking about that. Because when I heard her talk, I'm hearing a lot of intersectionality. We're going to play that in a minute too. Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive on this. Y'all niggas ain't getting away with it, man.
Over in the 70s. And she said she's not even a heifer yet. She just a
So
yearning.
they saying she's a yearning. She's not even a heifer yet. So basically she's a little girl. And they wanted to violate her.
You can't. But they gagged my mouth. And they raped me just like they did my mama. And there I was laying in that pile of blood. A little bit of girl didn't know what to do. And his wife had to clean me up.
Now remember, the white supremacists, their wives were some of the most vile, sick, and demented people probably in the history of mankind. The wife let it happen, which means that she went along with it, and I'm gonna prove to you right here.
But that never stopped. And I remember telling my mom, if you go tell that old nigger what happened here today, we's gonna kill everybody.
We took this issue of present-day slavery, pinnage to Capitol Hill.
And what did Mr. Tether himself do? Obama. Yeah. What did he do? Let's go back to the sister standing up. See, here's the issue. This is the idea. The idea of Pan-Africanism was supposed to be like what a friend told me. Let me tell you what my homie told me. He said, when race soldiers go anywhere on the planet, they're acknowledged as white. They're automatically accepted for the most part. Okay, will do. They're automatically accepted for the most part, which means anywhere they go, they're going to be like, they might have their differences, but you're white. So they're going to stay on code. The idea, the concept behind Pan-Africanism is supposed to be like this. Because here's the thing y'all got to understand. What's happening amongst foundationals and brothers and sisters from Africa, or I'll say the tethers, not the real ones, not the solid ones, not the Stokely Carmichaels, not the Hazel Scotts, not like the Taylors that was running. I'm not talking about them. The tether class. The issue is we're not supposed to be having this issue. This is a conversation that we were supposed to have a long time ago. Black folks not being able to get bus cabs in New York. Let's talk about it, people. brothers and sisters, especially the sisters. The dudes, they try to talk crazy too a little bit, but they know we'll beat their ass if need be. But when Black American women, when they get in them cars with a lot of foreigners, they act real funny style. Some of them is cool, maybe second or third generation or fourth generation, whatever the case may be. Some of them, but we should have had this conversation among the diaspora a long time ago. We should have had this conversation. But here's another reason. I'm putting this all in context, right? I'm putting this all in context. This isn't me talking some of the things that I'm going to show you. And I'm going to show you why. Now, this is another piece of evidence that I'm going to show you. And I hate to say it. This is another piece of evidence. But I'm going to get to the other one. But somebody put this online. And some people are saying, well, why are you getting mad at the CEOs? Why don't you get mad at the organizers? Because your CEO that says they're supposed to be not tone deaf, because they said that, remember, Black folks were saying it was tone deaf. In so many words, you got some coons and you got some race soldiers in the building. Now, somebody posted this. Now, I don't know where she's from. That wig looked crazy, but nice little thighs, but she's the only one there. Oh, you got a sister right here. You got my man. You got I was gonna say, what's his name? You got him. So you got three brothers and sisters in here. You got four. Okay. That's who you got. Let me see if I can pull this other piece of information. I'm bringing my files. We on trial. This hurt bad. Somebody posted this. Now, this is not xenophobia. This was from Brother Lennox Raphael. Lennox Raphael. This is Lennox Raphael. He's from Trinidad, journalist, poet, playwright. He published in the Negro Digest. What's the Negro Digest? Can the Negro expect freedom from 1965? This is the Negro Digest, 25 cents. Founded in 1942 by publisher John H. Johnson. Born in 1918 in Arkansas City. Died in Chicago in 2005. Johnson's company, with its creation of Ebony and Jet, were among the most influential African-American businesses. Now, remember in my second book, I want to give this in context. What happened to Black media is they started tap dancing for corporate sponsorships. But once you get the corporate sponsorship, you got to Scrooge McDuck your lips. You got to zip your lips. You can't talk about certain things anymore. Much like what happened with BET. Anyway, and y'all know about NAACP. I get it. I get it. Okay. All right. You got me. I know. I'm just saying. So the Negro Digest, that was under the Johnson Publishing Company. The first issue was in 1942. The final issue was in 1976. Okay. The publisher and editor was John H. Johnson. So to obtain the $500 needed for postage to mail his letters, he had to use his mother's furniture as a security on a loan. Johnson called the magazine the Negro Digest after the Reader's Digest and reprinted articles by and about African-American scholars from the African-American and Caucasian media. Edited by Ben Burns, despite being called the Negro Digest, the magazine usually reproduced articles in their entirety rather than digest. The letter generated 3,000 responses, and the first issue of the Negro Digest was published in 1942. We're going into that. Why? Because the Negro's Digest had this. The majority of whether they come from Trinidad, Barbados, or Grenada, or any other parts of the Americans seek to degrade the American Negro. This brother right here kept it 100. He's from the Caribbean. He's from the Caribbean. Around that time, now he said in his journalism, he explored the relationship between the Black West Indian immigrants to the U.S. and the longer established African American community. He points out that in the 60s, although there was a need for West Indian immigrants to show solidarity with Black Americans, many of those immigrants felt themselves to be superior to American-born Blacks. Bro, this was in the damn 60s. And y'all want to get mad because we use the word tether? You got to wear that. You see what the man said. You got to wear that foot. I don't want to hear about xenophobia and divisiveness. We didn't have that issue with when those brothers and sisters came over here. We accepted. You Negroes came over here with that, oh, I heard this on the TV and I want to tap dance, like that one Negro that I had to check when I was doing that Windows 7 deployment. I had to game and educate this nigga up because he started coming with that Chicago Bloods and Crips bastard baby mama thing. And I told him, I said, nigga, do we want to talk about Nigeria? Do we want to talk about the illegitimate frauds and all of that kind of stuff? I said, we could have that discussion. So, you know, me and him, we got into it at work and stuff like that. And I said, look, brother, we sat down. I shut the door. We sat down in a meeting. I said, look, man, we got to straighten this shit. We got to straighten this out, bro. I said, because the ideology that y'all got, I don't know if the Catholic Church done ran a train on you, or I don't know what the hell happened. But, dude, you over here with Freeman now. We built this so your black ass could come over here. Ain't nothing being built over there where we could benefit from laws like how y'all benefited from the laws we created for you. I said, so we got to straighten this out. I said, that TV shows you the Bloods and the Crips. I said, what about Ida B. Wells? Well, I didn't know, nigga. I didn't know. You know, I didn't, you know what? Man, look, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, I said, you kissing these white folks' ass to a certain degree, they're going to fire you. And that's what they did. His H-1B visa or something didn't get together or whatever. Like, oh, man, so can you do something? So now it's, can I do something? And it's happened too damn much. And I'm like, okay, we can't ride the Pan-African wave with folks like that. It's not going to work. We need some Stokely Carmichaels. We need some Taylors. We need some Hazel Scotts. You see what I'm saying? That's what we need. We don't have time to be dealing with no niggas that's thinking like that. But this dude right here, anyway, he died in November 27, 2023. Rest in power to Lennox Raphael. This brother was from Trinity. Nicki Minaj need to take some damn notes. So he called this out early about his journalism. And this one hurt because look, this is what he said. But you have citizenship now. That doesn't mean this is a tether that he's breaking down and he's talking about. He said the tether saying that doesn't mean anything. Now, citizenship didn't mean much to her. She says in an effort to cover up what really means so much to her, a woman past 50, that this broad's 50. She ain't gonna get a high class nigga at that age anyway. Past 50 here in the USA for 5 years. She doesn't want to be considered an American Negro. As a matter of fact, she's ashamed of being an American Negro. And this is the standard neurosis of the average West Indian immigrant. He or she does not want to be considered an American Negro. Subconsciously, they believe that the white man prefers them as a non-American Negroes. Now, this is where they underline it. In short, he wishes to be the white man's favorite nigger, and he may well be happy because he seems to be succeeding in dehumanizing himself. This is the color complex of the West Indian Negro. One who doesn't understand the fight for freedom in America, one who doesn't wish to understand it, and one, even understanding it, doesn't even have sympathy for it. Listen, man, we not giving an inch for you foreign niggas talking about what you don't understand, because this was in the 60s. And he wasn't saying, well, just what you don't understand, you don't have an interest. So when y'all start talking, when you start hearing some of these Negroes talk about y'all ain't got no culture, and I want y'all to think about this too, because we're in a digital era. I'm in Minnesota. You really don't hear a lot about what we see online and folks saying, because they're saying it behind those closed doors, almost like a studio gangster. They're saying these things behind closed doors and on the internet, because when you react with foundationals, you ain't really gonna get away with it, because we're going to check you. I had a situation at Cubs. Some dude, he was foreign. He tried to get in the line, and I guess he didn't get in line. He wanted to like budge, and I had to tell him. I said, bro, you can't just budge in front of people, man. You gotta stand in line and everybody else. And he tried to get bucked. And I said, man, where's your people from, bro? Oh, I'm from Somalia or somewhere in East Africa. I said, look, man, obviously you fresh off the boat, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of clemency. And I said, nigga, look, we don't do that here. We act as a civilized society. Now, nobody else wasn't saying that, but eventually when I started talking, that's when people was like, well, yeah, man, he should have got in line and all that, because nobody else wanted to say nothing, because they want to be too politically correct. He tried to get buck and get smart with me. And I said, your black ass wouldn't be here if my folks didn't fight for you to get here. You probably don't know that. I said, so I'm going to give you a pass. I said, you got to get your ass in line just like everybody else. We don't just budge and elbow our way through like we in a damn civil war. I'll never forget this. It was at Cub Foods. I said, man, you don't just get to budge in line. And if you, well, I didn't know it. After a while, I said, man, this ain't Africa, nigga. What you do back home will liable to get your jaw tapped over here. We have order. We have structure. You don't just show up and budge in line. Now, back home, they might have did that, but you don't do that here. And I'm just kind of letting you know, because some niggas would have just went upside your head. Some folks will just go upside your head for something like that. So, you know, I had another situation at a gas station. And the reason why I speak to this, we got to have this conversation. People say, well, we should have it offline. Well, they having it online too, so whatever. So we got to have this conversation. I'm at the gas station. It's me and my homie. It's a little thick-ass African chick. We trying to see what's going on. We at Bobby's and Steve's. Y'all know where that's at. She raises up and be like, y'all ain't no real black men. We thought she was joking, because we knew she was from, from the motherland. She said, y'all ain't no real black men. But she had an accent. And we kind of laughed like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like it was banter. We thought it was banter, but she was dead serious. She said, y'all ain't from the motherland. You ain't no real black man. And we asked her, we said, well, what is a real black man? Oh, you're not from Africa. You're not a real black man. You're just a lost slave. I don't talk to you. And we're like, oh, At that time, we were a little hurt, but we were kind of like, okay, whatever. But now when you look at it in hindsight, and keep in mind, we 18, 19, 20 years old, if that. I thought I was like 16, 17 maybe. But now that's the mindset that people will tell us, well, let's wait to educate these Negroes. As if, okay, this is for the 94 crime bill Negroes. This is for like the butter biscuit boule. This is for these Negroes. Well, you need to pull your pants up, and y'all need to stop gangbanging, and Bloods and Crips and GDs and Vice Lords. That's all about crime, and y'all selling crack, and you going against the community. Okay, so y'all don't want to rock and re-educate them. Y'all want to just lock them up, right? So the so-called American Negro that is involved in criminality, that's a serial hood hitter, as I call it, that sells crack, does drill music, Chief Keef, 600 Crew, King Vons, all these gang banging ass niggas that you don't want to sit down with them and try to educate them. You're like, well, just lock them up. They kill other black people. But we're supposed to Pan-Africanize and get with these Negroes that say they don't know our culture to the point where they could talk slick at the mouth. No, that day's coming to, and I'm telling you, with these deportations, you know, we're being told that we need to stick our neck out on the line and get felonies over ICE so we can try to stop them from sending you back to your homeland that you should love and cherish. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to break the law. We barely could get a fair trial as it is. I bring that up all the time. You got black men in Louisiana and Angola right now. Some of those brothers are innocent. So what you're telling me is the brother in Angola committed a crime. He did a black on black crime, right? He can't get education. You can't sit him down and say, hey, brother, let's get on code. It's too late for him. He's doing a life sentence. But you want me to go over to this nigga that says he didn't know about Black American history. And we want to educate him. We want to sit back and take in this clear day right now. You want us to take the time to educate this nigga in the smartphone. Oh, well, they didn't know what they were doing and forgive them because they know not what they do. No, we got too much information out there. And I'll tell you the climate here in Minnesota so you get understanding. A lot of the West Africans stay in Brooklyn Park. Some of them rock with the brothers, and brothers, you got to, sisters they do good hair braiding, they gonna go rock with them. The West Africans here will bond with us more so than the East African community. And I'm talking about primarily the Somali. Now, the younger Somali generation, they may rock with you here and there. You might get a date, maybe, but that's only, but you see, here's what I'm looking at it from this standpoint. They'll say it's religion sometimes, but it's really because you Black American. Some of that, to my understanding, that's being kind of shrouded because the culture is different. They seen George Floyd, they seen King Von. The younger generation, they're not really going to bond with, but here's the issue. The issue is some of them, not all, but some of them are going to take the underbelly, the small percentage of the underbelly of Black American criminality society. Rap and all this shit and whatever we drilling and all that. They gonna do that and do a video and want to rap and do all this because they think, okay, that's Black American culture. That's a piece. That's a piece. But that's not all of our culture. We have much, much more. Out of all the negative stuff, you could just take rap. And that's what a lot of times when people try to say, oh, well, y'all gang bang and y'all rap. You could take rap and throw hip hop out the window, and then you could just leave criminality. You still gonna have some gang banging, but let's say throw the gang banging out the window. We've offered way more than gang banging. We've offered inventions, food, culture, music, revolution. Don't nobody stand up like we do. Let's keep it 100, man. Folks look at us from around the globe. They don't be looking at nobody else like that. It's cool to be a foundational. Let's be honest. People be saying, well, that's xenophobic. No, let's fucking say it. It's cool to be us. We ain't trying to be like y'all. Be like y'all for what? We'll look at the motherland from Roots and Cheek Diop and the work of John Henry Clark and Chancellor Williams and the majesty of the history of Africa. But when you look over there and we're like, okay, you saying, well, we have issues over here too. If we're told that we're lost Africans, we sure know a lot of damn history in the last 300, 400 years here. If you use the term, well, y'all lost Africans, y'all don't know anything. All right, well, I posed the question of, okay, it's a bunch of different countries over there. Why can't y'all just kick all them white supremacists out, man, and just use all the minerals for yourself? Because you're going to have some tribal wars. So really, actually, it's worse. Y'all's tribalism over there is worse than all the gang banging that we got over here. Because we get RICOs. We don't get the gang bang and do crime and just get away scot-free. They don't let us do that. They don't let us do that. They give us RICOs. We go to prison when we do something. If we do something to another black man, we go to prison. If we do something for a white man, we definitely go into prison. You see what I'm saying? So we're just having a conversation. As John Henry Clark said, we're getting our house in order. And getting our house in order is cleaning shit up. So yeah, it's going to come bad. It's going to sound bad, and it's going to sound xenophobic or whatever. It's gonna sound bad because you're getting a taste of what I call razor blade medicine. You got the black American freedmen saying, hold on, nigga, wait a minute. We gonna gatekeep our culture. We don't have to deny our African ancestry with upholding our black American heritage. We don't have to deny it. You see what I'm saying? We don't have to say that didn't happen. But we don't got to go 4,000 or 5,000 fucking years back to say, well, King Tut, okay, I get it. Yeah, King Tut. But one thing I find out, and I got to say this too, that I find interesting. I rarely hear any Africans that I've talked to that talk about their history, about their revolutionaries. I don't hear them say anything about it really too much. Rarely. I just don't hear that conversation. And so when we have to acknowledge, and we always talk about ours, because number one, we were stripped of our history beyond the 17 and 1600s. Now they say the 16, 1700s, there was black folks in the dismal swamps and stuff like that and all that. And there's more evidence than I'm starting to see from older archaeologists that's talking about the possibility of pre-Columbian black heritage or black, So we have a lot of history to be proud of here. And we have a lot of history that we should not be proud of. But when you have something like this coming from the 60s and folks get mad saying that you're not supposed to use that term tether, he basically describes it. This is the color complex of the West Indian Negro, one who doesn't wish to, and one who, even understanding it, doesn't have any sympathy for it. So when you get somebody telling me that you ought to fight for immigration, DP, they're not sending niggas over here that understand it and wish to understand it. They're not sending over folks like Barbecue and Julius Malema, Lumumba. They're not Winnie Mandela. They're not sending over no Willie Mandelas over here. They're not. Rarely. They're not sending a bunch of Stokely Carmichaels over here. They're just not, man. Let's just be honest. They're not. They're sending some folks over here where most of them is like, man, let me just get a bag and whatever. Let me get a bag. And when we point that out, it's problematic. So we're being xenophobic pointing that out. And it's poppycock. It's a further chapter in the history of the international black man's effort to escape from his skin and his being. Oh, that hit hard. I have yet to meet a West Indian Negro who doesn't feel he is better than the American Negro and therefore equal to the American white with whom he wishes to associate. Listen to this. Indies can be Sidney Poitier or a Cleveland Robinson, two of the many West Indians who have entered the mainstream of American life. The majority, whether they come from Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, or Grenada, or any other part of the Caribbean, seek to degrade the American Negro. Somebody once said that the immigrant was a mad dog in search of any bone. Damn. And every time he found a bone, he would cross a bridge, look down in the water, see a larger bone, drop his own, and run down the bank of the river to be deceived by his unquenchability. Well, the immigrant Negro in America seems to be the mad dog with a bone in his mouth, constantly dropping in and finding others throughout this long search for an identity. Some time ago, I met a Jamaican in a Greenwich Village bar. I asked him whether he had become an American citizen. No, and never. Soon, he was lashing out at the defects of the American Negro and pretending to be holier than in the castle of his unpopular skin. They are animals, he said. They are this and they are that. I challenged his statements. So this was a good Caribbean brother that was not a tether. Let's be clear. He was not an immigrant coon that was calling out the coonery of the immigrant coon. I challenge his statements. Oh, you wouldn't know, he parred. You have to work with them. He works with them, some civil rights organization in New York. So maybe I was wrong. I was saying, well, you really couldn't pull the tethering early in the 60s. This dude was saying that they was tethering in the 60s and working for civil rights organizations in the 60s. Incredible. Fucking incredible, bro. This is from 1963. Oh, let's go further. Let's go further. She will not rent her rooms to an American Negro without the recommendation of someone she respects. They don't have morals, she says. They don't know how to rear their children. They are lazy and with an ambition. Now, this is the Black American ain't lazy narrative. This nigga done packed up, left one of the most beautiful countries in the world and came over here. Yet, we're lazy. We don't have any ambition. We didn't flee. We stayed and we fought from 1776 and beyond. We stayed and we fought. We didn't flee. And they're saying that we're lazy. Fat Joe says you're lazy and racist. You foundational blacks are lazy. Y'all are lazy and you racist. Or what he said? He said we're broke. We're broke and we're racist. They saying we lazy and ain't got no ambition. Yet we built the country and was standing up for civil rights. So we fought to bring over niggas like this. In hindsight, maybe we shouldn't even fought for immigration. We should have let them niggas stay in their country so they can be ambitious and not lazy. Because if you're not lazy and you're ambitious, you could be ambitious anywhere. That's pure logic. You should be able to fix your issue anywhere you are if you're ambitious. So this is what else he prints. I'm from Jamaica. Let's go farther than this. Okay, now he works part-time with the civil rights organization, but what can he do in the interest of civil rights buried down as he is with his prejudice? So this was a tether, literally working for a civil rights organization back in Jamaica. His father is an executive member of some branch of the government. His uncle is internationally respected writer, and in his island home, he's a prince in a shoe, and nobody dares call him nigger or any name to the effect. But here in New York or any other part of the United States, he struggles. He's a black man, a Negro. So in order to retain an identity which can set him apart from what he considers the irresponsible mob, he stays in his Caribbean closet. Y'all, this brother here, Lennox Raphael, I wish I could have met this brother. He's putting the beats on these tethers. I'm gonna play a video that he reminds me. This sister, she got that Linux. Like, remember I told you that Somali sister when came into the expo to start calling out all the tap dance and sambos. Man, she got that that sister that was spitting. She got that Linux Raphael energy. She got that. I mean, remember, they say, oh, the government. Okay, yeah, your dad's an executive branch member, your uncle's an internationally respected writer in your homeland and all that, but you're over here with us. You got some ambitious people. How did you end up leaving your homeland? That wasn't our fault. We didn't do anything against y'all for that. You left. You were a failure, and you came over here to the non-failures. But you got over here and you said, well, hey, these brothers are subjugated, but I'm better than them. It's in the 60s, y'all. Now, I'm from Jamaica, he says when you meet him, but he doesn't even have to say it. The exact preservation of his accent will warn you. Damn. However, that still won't be enough to show you how much he's not a part of the American dilemma. He will criticize American Negroes, even going so far as to openly call them niggers. And as soon as his studies are finished, he intends to return to his island home and become a small bureaucrat. Who does that sound like? He is not unlike my aunt and the thousands of other aunts there are. My aunts rent a room from a Trinidadian, a woman who has children born in America, but a woman who would never stand to be called an American. Because once you make her an American, you make her an American Negro. This woman spends her time thinking so many things of the American Negro. So we rent free all the time in her brain, rent free. That in an attempt to be such a generous thinker, she generally managed to outsay those whites who think the worst of any Negro. They have no morals, she says, because they drink beer out of cans. They don't know how to rear their children. They're lazy, without ambition. And this is what they said. We came here, she said, meaning the thousands of West Indians in the States, and in so little time, we have educated our children and bought so many apartment houses here in New York, but they, the American Negroes, talk of the South. Why don't they leave the South and come here? You tell me. Because we're not cowards and we don't flee. That's why. I told her that hundreds of Negroes leave the South every week in search of a better life, but to no avail, my words fell deaf on ears. She will not rent her rooms to American Negro without the recommendation of someone she respects. Years ago, she sent her daughter to a predominantly white school and the child was accepted as and I didn't see that other part. I'm going to do a breakdown of this. I don't give a damn what y'all talking about. Well, you xenophobic, you divisive. This is a Trinidadian that's saying this. This was in the 60s. This still lives today. See, I spoke too fast. I said, okay, there was black folks that stayed in Harlem. They couldn't tap dance and tether like this. Man, this was 1963. Them island Negroes been tethering since 1963. A lot of them. A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot. It was problematic enough for him to write that article because he's seen his fellow Caribbeans. He's seen the coonery and he was kind of like, man, this ain't it. Okay, let's see if I could, because I'm going to shut this down in a minute. But this sister, I listen to this about once a week. Now, she said this during the broadcast, and we loved her for it. Haven't. Damn, it won't let you. Let me see here. Anyway, basically, it was a Jamaican woman, some Jamaican sister that basically was calling her mother out because her mother saw the Super Bowl, and she basically was saying her mother was cooning for the crown. She said something disrespectful about foundational blacks in the Super Bowl and Kendrick Lamar, which that was a Freedman's experience, and she had a problem with it. And it was during Black History Month. She was saying that she said something, and so she was basically calling her mom a tether, and she was going off. And I wish I had that video. I don't know where it is, but I want to finish this rest and show you some other Essence stuff as to why we're not accepting this government.
Aside from Black American heritage, that shift is starting to feel really intentional. Local Black vendors are being pushed out. Local creators and influencers are overlooked completely, all while being the very representation that is needed for Black-centered heritage in the South. It doesn't make any sense to me. It has slowly become a place that has been curated for optics and not community. This very thing is exactly what I was talking about in my previous videos when I asked the question, where are the Black American beauty creators? The answer is we're being pushed out of the very spaces created and centered for us. And not just pushed out of these spaces like Essencefest, but panels, brand deals, sponsorships, media. And all of this didn't happen by accident. It has happened through leadership, branding pivots, and sponsorship deals that prioritize global Blackness. Global Blackness, a movement that often leaves out the specific culture and heritage of Black Americans. And when brands talk about inclusion, but sideline the very creators who made the culture, we should all be asking, if Essence no longer feels like us, who is it for?
Well, you know what? Let me check out the sister's website here. She looks like she's repping hard. Now it looks like she does a lot of, lipstick and stuff like that and whatnot, or let me see.
Who is Deja, the Black American beauty creator? Well, hey y'all. Let me introduce myself. I'm from the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
Now I'm rooted in Dallas, Texas.
All right. So
Dallas in 2018.
So what that tells me right there, let me tell you what that. I'm from the west side of Chicago. Something told me she was. I mean, I knew she was a Freeman. I knew that. But when she said west side of Chicago, I said, okay, Mississippi. There we go. I see. The sisters ain't feeling this because they spending their hard-earned money to go down there, and they see the ploy. They see the plot. And more people are speaking about it. It's getting to a point where, Essence, the owners or whoever's running it, they're not going to be able to pull what they're pulling.
So when I speak about Black American beauty, I'm coming from a lived experience, from a culture that shaped me, from a lineage that's been innovating style, music, language, and beauty, long before there was an algorithm that rewarded people for it.
Facts.
Also, I'm part of a chosen family here in Dallas, Texas. I'm in the LGBT scene, the ballroom scene, trans girls, queer boys, Southern legend.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Whoa. Yeah, no, we ain't gonna promote that. Oh, y'all done caught me. Yeah, see, I should have looked at that a little bit when I seen it. We don't promote that. No, sir. We don't hate them, but we do not promote that. Not on this channel. I had to cut that off, but she was right. I don't know. Is that a he or a she? Damn, I don't know. DP. Hey. I'm leaving that in there too, y'all. So y'all could call me up on that. Like, okay, DP, what was you playing? No. We not doing that. See, I was getting ready to say, well, go follow. At this point, I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know, but that The essence part, that's correct, but no. Let me see if we can. Let me see if I get something else up in here. Let me see if I get something else. Now, I'm not saying what she's saying about Black Americans is not. She has her take. And when I see Chicago, I'm like, okay. But then when you see how I do. When I see something that's not conducive, that's moving Black American culture forward, I'm cutting it right off. Nope, I'm cutting it right off. All right, let's see what she says.
A lot of y'all are talking about what did or did not happen at Essence in your absence, but I was there, so let me give you the tea. Now, y'all know that I love everything Black people, Black. A lot of y'all are talking about what did or did not happen at Essence in your absence, but I was there, so let me give you the tea. Now, y'all know that I love everything Black people, Black peopling, okay? It is my favorite genre, and Essencefest has always been a celebration of all the Blackity Black stuff that we do in the culture. It is for us, by us, and I am here for it. I had a wonderful time. Okay. It was less intimidating than last year because I had a plan, and the plan was not to overwhelm myself. That is key. If you ever go, make sure that you plan to have fun, you plan to be involved, but you also plan to rest because there's so much stuff going on. But I had such a great time. Shout out to the whole Essence team for continuing to work hard to bring Black excellence to the forefront and give us something to do in the great city of New Orleans. I can't do the accent, so I'm not even going to try. Now, before I go, I want to address something really quickly, because are there going to be issues when you are putting on a huge event? Yes. It does not matter if it's us. It doesn't matter where it is, what kind of industry it is. There will be hiccups. That is life. It is messy things, and you pivot, you adjust. I want to caution us to be careful about how we talk about things. There is always this big push for supporting Black businesses and supporting our own. But then if stuff is not exactly the way that we want it to be, if it doesn't go off perfectly, then we dragging everybody. Now, does that mean that we don't hold people accountable?
Here's the thing.
No, not at all. But we have to do.
When you have a situation where you have legendary folks, now look at let's look at India Ari as well. India Ari has been talking about this for a long time, about it being too ratchet. I'm trying to find out. So she's been a recurring presence at the Essence Festival, known for Neo Soul. And she basically said her comments on performances at the festival involving twerking and sexualized content have led to debates about the balance between artistic expression and respectability. What she was saying was being on code. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find this out. Hold on.
Last time India Ari tell us how she made that change and started living a life that was truly her own. If you know, all of you are thinking, well, what was the process for getting better? What was the process? I was thinking we didn't even get to the good part. We didn't even get.
Hold on, let me see. Focus on context. Now, this is in 2023 when she called out people. Let me see if I can find that. She called out Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monáe's. She called them out.
Hey, y'all. There's a saying, the lie makes it around the world before the truth gets out of bed. Social media blending with the news has created this thing where they make stories just to get clicks. So they made it look like my story was, I have harsh words for Janelle Monáe and Megan Thee Stallion, and I do not. If I were addressing Janelle Monáe and Megan Thee Stallion, that would have been clear. The concept that anytime a woman says anything, even in the vicinity of another woman, she's being catty and she's fighting. And so now we got this headline about what I supposedly did. Who I was addressing were the people in the comments, explaining to them that the video in question, not Megan Thee Stallion, not Janelle, but the video in question was out of context for the Essence Festival. Essence is a 53-year-old institution that was always about wholesome Black entertainment. The brand shifted right under people's feet. That's what I meant when I said context. What I did was jump into the comment section, and in fact, in defense of someone who was in the comment section trying to explain her trust of Essence brand being broken, I commented about the context. That's what I did. We all know everybody twerks. Everybody knows who Megan Thee Stallion is. She's one of the biggest stars in the world, and so is Janelle. Everybody knows what they're about and what they do. We weren't saying that they shouldn't do what they do. We were saying context, which is what my message said. The part that really is important that people should know is that the Essence Festival was purchased. And so the new owners are trying to take it in a different direction, and they are. And the rub is that people weren't told that. So now everybody's buying their tickets to go enjoy their weekend down in New Orleans in July like they've been doing for the last 20, 25 years. And this moment happens on stage. Bodies.
Now look at this. Not NDRE trying to police Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monáe. There you go. Look at them flags. There you go. Because let's be clear. These folks talk about morality. Let's talk about Carnival. Carnival is some of the most ratchet shit ever. When you talk about morality. Now she wants to talk about morality. Look at them flags. Look at them flags right there. That's the first one. So you not Black first. You this first. That's what we getting.
Respectability politics. I have a lot to say about both of those things. And while I feel that I'm a person who has earned the benefit of the doubt, and if you see me make a comment, you can read it with the tone of love. What I am realizing is that sometimes it's just the weather outside. That's what social media is. It's the tone in the air. It captures the tone in the air. So since everybody's arguing, you imagine that I'm arguing too. And so since everybody's trying to police Black women's bodies, you imagine that's what I'm about too. And so because everybody is trying to put...
What she's talking about, family, is she's talking about being on code. That's really what she's talking about. She's talking about, hey, there's some code. Let me see here. I mean, this is everywhere, man. So you want to have some people to have a good time and whatnot, but man, there was something else that I saw. Oh yeah, let me see what she says.
Essence not festing no more. Like, I don't know what's going on.
This New Orleans native says Essencefest has changed.
One thing I can say since I've been back home looking at Essencefest, it's so empty.
This is a New Orleans native. They have the final say.
Essence not festing no more. Like, I don't know what's going on.
This New Orleans native says Essencefest has changed.
One thing I can say since I've been back home looking at Essencefest, it's so empty. The food vendors on Portraits, there are barely none. Usually I'm hella booked up. So many people who normally go, they're like, I don't think I'm going this year. Like, how y'all gonna make people pay for other parts of the Essence Fest that was free? Like, Essence not festing no more.
So what's going on? And I don't want to hear anything about just the sponsorships. The tetherings got so bad that y'all using your little scams. And what they're doing is they're probably saying, hey, listen, the things that were free before, and I know the economy's changing, I get that. But no, so null and void. This is my final conclusion. Foundational Black Americans, the Freedmen of America, are going to have to get with other brothers from different places, and either you're on or off. You either gonna be on code or off. If you're off code, we ain't rocking with you. If you're on code, we definitely rocking with you. That's why I said that, you know, where I seen some things online, or some people were saying, well, you know, they didn't want to support Caribbean businesses or whatever. Man, if you're getting treated right, you support them, bro. You don't just say, well, these folks over here, we're not going to support because they come from a different lineage. If they solid with us and they treating us well, you treat them just like how you do the white folk. When the white folk sell you stuff and it be mediocre, you just take it and you run with it. McDonald's, we done been there 1,000 times. I don't want to hear this, oh, well, the black-owned business was janky. Okay, the black-owned business was janky. Just find another one. Find one just like how you do the white folk. Do that. So my final review, my conclusion, is going to be a one-on-one basis. This whole 50,000 Pan-Africanism campaign thing, no. We far beyond that. It ain't going to work. We going to have to do individual things where we talk to another brother, foreign or domestic. Hey, let's get something going. Let's work. And then you work with those people. And if you get any word from like those dudes that from the Negroes Digest that are on that, well, y'all don't know your culture and all this Akata stuff or whatever the case may be, just don't deal with them. That's all. They're going to lose in the end, because the thing is, you're going to need some, Essence is based on the architecture of Black American heritage. It's based on that. Because see, when people start saying things like, well, and just like that little clip I showed you of that sister, what happened to him? Well, why? Somebody may say, well, why didn't they just leave the plantation? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? In so many words, that they should have did this, they should have did that. Well, why did you have to flee your homeland? You couldn't stay and fight like we did, right? Okay, I get it. You left because there was danger. Well, there was danger and we didn't go nowhere. Not everybody was a runaway. Even the people that lived on the plantation, some of it was fear, and some of it was like, okay, I'm gonna stay, and then I'll make a sneak attack at some other time. Nat Turner at one point was kind of like, you know what? I'm good. I ain't doing this no more. I'm sick of this shit. At some point, and he stayed. He stayed. He went from plantation to plantation, putting in work. He didn't have to do that. He could have left and just hopped on. He could have probably left somewhere and went on the island and went up to Canada. He could have did that. He didn't do that. He stayed and we fought. So look, the question I had before, should we check our cousins? Yeah. But see, now check this out. I was at work a couple weeks ago. Some white guy was telling me something about, well, he was basically trying to get with him to side with, he was saying, oh, well, the Somalians doing a whole bunch of the crime in Minnesota. Shit, a lot of them is. But he's like, oh, why are they here and all this kind of stuff? And I said, well, U.S. messed up their countries. I said, it was kind of like, I said, you know, he said, well, they get benefits and all that. I said, yeah, it's like the Marshall Plan. He didn't know what to say after that. What's that? I said, it's like the Marshall Plan. I didn't even tell him what it was. I'm going to let him think about it. I said, it was just like the Marshall Plan. I said, my folks, my lineage, we couldn't get the Marshall Plan. We couldn't get a lot of the benefits from the GI Bill. We couldn't get that. And what the main issue is right here, it's not confusion, because Black Americans were not confused. We're just tired of the jig being up with the general consensus. And I want to be clear about like Minneapolis and Minnesota. When we're out and about, most of the time, I mean, there's situations at work because I done had them. But a lot of times, we out and about, African businesses and stuff like that, we go shop with them. But I'm going to be 110%. Far as East Africans, Somali or whatever, I'm just going to be honest. They don't do business with us like that. We don't do business together. They stay in their enclaves. And then now when it comes to, maybe some kicking it or some music or some shit like that, you'll hear some black folks, and they'll rock with the Somalis or whatever the case may be. But man, it ain't no damn kumbaya. Now, when it comes to general conversations, a lot of times we'll be, hey, how you doing? And keep it moving, and they might smile, and that'd be cool. But the older generation, they may not really mess with us like that. Now, once they start getting their ass kicked and deported, then yeah, they gonna get real nice. I noticed when I've been out and about, a lot of other immigrant groups, they've been overly nice for me lately. Hey, brother, do you know where the immigration building is? I've had that. People have me that question several times on my way to work downtown. They've been real nice with me, very humble. You know what I'm saying? Because they about to get your ass up out of here. So, the thing is keep building with the foundationals, build with the foreign blacks. And for those that don't want to rock, they don't want to rock. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to pretend like we ain't got no culture. And we're not going to break our neck for ICE and catch a felony because we're using the guise of, well, y'all are next when we were always first. And that's my final conclusion when it comes down to the Negro Nuremberg. Yeah, we're going to have to separate. And we're going to have to keep building with the solid. And that's my final conclusion.